carefully pointed out, source A is a diary. If you write a diary, who's the audience? Don't tell me you're convincing yourself. Okay? So basically, you cannot just basically brainwash yourself to do certain action. Although I wish I can do that. But so basically, purpose is out. So purpose is out, what do I write? I look at tone. And sometimes they use the word perspective. Okay? Really, it's the same thing. Okay? So in terms of perspective or the tone, actually they are actually more similar, okay, in a sense, because both are actually hinting towards the idea that actually they don't really trust the Soviet Union. They are very distrustful of the Soviet Union. There is a strong sense of, you use the word tone, I should see the words like say hostility, negativity, mistrust towards the Soviet Union. Okay?
What's another word for big? Like the goal.
So similar in terms of tone or perspective. The idea about hostility, sorry, you don't be trusted. So this CK is basically what I mean by historical context. So when you explain why, in terms of their tone, I need to see the idea that the national interest, actually altered their perception. They increasingly having greater misunderstanding, hostility from Feb to May. And this is the most important part.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to highlight. So for me, from February to May, I still want to be friends. Although you did certain things.
Natural.
National.
Oh.
NAT. So although in February you can see the source, when you do certain things, it irritates me a bit, but I still want to be friends with you. But up to when you reach to May, which source B, that irritation increased to the max. That is now total distrust already. Okay, so here I'm actually accounting with the CK, I'm actually accounting to the historical context. And the historical context is the Sovietization of Eastern European states.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes. So I hope you write it in Sovietization of Eastern European states. So this mistrust, this hostility is very tied to the Soviet action in Eastern Europe.
Cannot.
Like spell not agree.
Is it tied it?
Huh?
Oh, the bottom one.
This one?
Oh,
I'm just saying that this hostility is tied to the station.
Alter his perception.
Alter his perception.
That's his.
Is. ITS.
Which word? Which word?
Okay, so can you read out the first part of CK?
CK, irreconcilable national interest of
NET.
Okay, so increasing
National
misunderstanding / hostility from February to May. So it increased. Okay, reason being because of Soviet actions in Eastern Europe. So when you explain the irreconcilable national interest, you can also say ideology. But in this source, not really. That's why I put a question mark. So I can't really accept ideology. Can
And it smells like bread.
Dude, can
Yes.
you like...
About the tone.
Huh?
About the tone.
Tone is hostility. I didn't write hostility here. But the idea is the same. So it's just, you tell me that both sources are similar in terms of their tone. Okay? Source A shows a hostile tone towards the Soviet Union, or some hostility towards Soviet Union. So the hostility is growing. It's not the same. So when you give it a historical context, you have to account that increase in hostility.
But I thought it would be a difference there because one has less hostility and one has more.
Yeah, so it really depends on how you phrase it. But I need to see the idea of hostility that increases. So the answer here, it could be similar in tone, it could be different in tone. But it's the same thing about hostility. It's just from one level of hostility, it raises to a new high.
So if I write difference but I write the same thing, it's fine, right?
Yeah. So you can see here, I didn't really specify similar or difference. But the idea is that it increases. Whether is it from 0 to 100 or 10 to 100, it really depends on how you see it. Yeah.
So the third paragraph is basically just on your context, not on the source.
Huh?
You write quote from the source.
Yes, you still need to bring the quote.
Therefore, you explain using context.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the context here, the one that underlies the most important part. You need to make references to the year. The provenance. So this is the reason why I keep talking about why. Even when you use stone, you need to bring the historical context. Why that particular code? Why hostility? Why mistrust? Can Elliot? Can
Hope.
no worries, we will do a bit more. I know this is in point form, but I managed to find a one that is, the answer is quite full. Then you can see how to write perspective in sense. Or taken from A levels.
E.
You guys can do A level stuff actually. If I give you an A level paper, I'm pretty sure you can do it.
I rusty in it.
Rusty.
I never do history for
Hey, for those that are done, can I trouble you, since you have some time, this is the most important lesson out of all. Can you take out this booklet and take page 6? We are going to look at question 6.
Under my table. Yeah, why you put N level thing inside here one?
Huh?
Why you put N level stuff inside one?
Oh, because actually, let me tell you, you go and take a look at PYS or MAE. In fact, the N-level papers are more difficult than O-level papers.
Yeah, because you're Sec 5.
True, but also not really true. Yeah. In fact, statistics have shown that those who click on to Sec 5, they actually fail badly in their O-levels. That's the reason why they're putting SPB, and by 2027, you will not see this thing called Sec 5.
Oh.
In fact, you always think that those people who took on Sec 5, they are actually very smart because they did well at A levels, therefore they do O levels. That's not the case. Because the very smart ones, they will go to PFE, Poly Foundation. Those who cannot make it, they will go ITE. So in the end, those who are
They
too
go-
good,
they go
but also
private.
not that great to go to Poly, they are stuck in O levels.
They go private.
They go private.
They got no money to go private.
No, not
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
has the money to go private.
Because they are the
Wait, are the majority
the majority of the people in N levels are disproportionate to our national the makeup of our nation.
Really? There are evidence to back it up. Not true, you know.
You
know,
see,
even
right?
from normal, like N levels, there's also differences in terms of normal CAT and normal technical.
But you see, right?
Wait,
Singapore.
how bad is NT? Like
Huh?
how bad is NT?
It's not bad, it's just different levels.
Like it's like how different is the levels?
One guy is a level.
You need to understand that he's politically bound by his employment.
No. I'm pretty sure. In N levels, there's difference. N level, there's normal acad, there's normal technical.
Yeah.
You look at normal technical, they don't even study humanities.
Because they're gearing them up for life skills so that they can
Huh?
survive next time.
Yeah, so in fact, most of them, they only are required to take 5 subjects. Yet some of them take 4.
Home econ.
No, English, Math, Science,
Chinese.
and one applied subject. And Chinese applied
That's
subject.
just primary school.
Huh?
That's primary school.
Yeah. So if now you go to Popular, you can see NT papers, English. It's like primary school.
Wait, then what's the point of like going to secondary
What's
school
the point?
if they're doing primary school things?
People have different learning pace. Yeah, and actually, in fact, for example, you may laugh at, your English is so bad. But actually, you look at their background, most of them they wouldn't speak English. They learn things.
They learn Malay.
They learn Malay, they learn Chinese. And some of them, in fact, the way how they learn the subject, they learn it through their own mother tongue. So if you look at Singapore's history, in fact, in the past,
Chinese.
there are Chinese schools, there are Malay schools, there are Tamil schools. So schools like say Hwa Chong and Chongqing, they use Chinese to teach math, to
Ching Chong
teach
Chong
science.
Ching.
It
Oh
was
yeah.
in the past lah. So it was only in 1980s.
The school make us sit in China lesson, you know, because we had IE in China. I had to sit through a Chinese physics lesson.
Yeah. So fun.
Chinese, man.
How much you understand?
Okay, I can move on already.
Why?
Bro,
No? Yes? Last call for this? No? No? Can? Okay.
I had Chinese physics and Chinese English.
Now,
They learn English, what? Half of the lesson is in
now,
Chinese.
if you can recall, last lesson, before
I wasn't here last lesson. They're very easy.
okay, no worries. So last lesson, basically, what we have done is that we look at the sources from A to N and ask you all to answer to the question based on the source, what actually caused the relationship to deteriorate. So I was telling you guys that actually to really understand origin of Cold War is very simple. You look from the idea about who was to be blamed. And that's actually how history is being written. We always look at school of thoughts, and when you look at origin of Cold War, most historians are trying to answer the question on why actually the relationship soured. So I was writing down actually, there are main few arguments that say that, USSR, there are some people who say USSR was to be blamed. Some say USA was to be blamed. Some say both are at fault or no one at fault in a sense. So when you, that's actually the groundwork of actually what this various school of thoughts are. So this school of thoughts are basically just groups of historians at different times subscribing to different arguments. So today we are just filling up the box for question 6 because once you know question 6, basically you know how to write an essay already. Because I was telling you guys that the 3 boxes are your 3 paragraphs. Okay? So I will move on. So can you write down? So these are the different points. So the first 2 points, they're actually your argument. Then the last bullet point is at the context. Okay? So when you look at the origin of Cold War, you look at how historians argue. Okay? The first group of historians, we started looking at this topic from 1945 to 1960s. Most of them subscribe to the idea that, hey, actually it was the Soviet Union that was at fault. Okay? The Soviet Union was the main reason why the relationship broke down because of its aggressive Soviet expansionism. Okay? So this was actually the reason that so if you can look at it, the second line, actually that is your topic sentence when you write essay. Okay? That the Cold War was the direct result of Stalin's aggressive Soviet expansionism. So when you write an argument, can I trouble you to write at the side in terms of examples? What are some examples you have really learned that can prove that it was Stalin's aggressive Soviet expansionism that was at fault? Poland. Okay? So this is where one example was what we call the Sovietization of Eastern European states. Okay? So one example inside this is Poland. So you can tell, so when you're writing an essay, you tell me a grandmother's story about, when Stalin applied, Stalin Sovietized Eastern European states, like for example in countries like Poland, okay, Czechoslovakia, Romania, they applied the slicing the salary tactic. Although it promised a free and fair election, okay, but it used its army to intimidate voters, crack down on political opposition, okay, and in the end, the election, the Communist Party won. And when the Communist Party won, it Sovietized Eastern European states. Okay? Later on, next week, when we learn deeper, another example of Soviet expansionism is this event called Berlin Blockade. Okay? So, if when you write your essay, no one is taking a gun to ask you to write 2 examples. Or you must die write Sovietization of Eastern European states. Depending on how much you can remember, or depending on the length you can write, okay, you can choose either or. So long as you prove the point. So actually that's the beauty of core essays. Core essays, what you're interested in is argument. Your examples can change. Can
That wasn't me.
Oh really?
That was Jared.
Jared seems confused. Where's your booklet? You don't have. Then people writing, you're there chilling. Then waiting for what? Business. I don't know where it is.
Yeah, you got me, yeah.
So the first 2 points in argument. The third point is the context. So when you write an argument to look at existentialism, I just need you to write 2 more examples. Which is what argument.
You put on me, eh?
Yeah?
Where do you write what?
Yeah. Can Shh. I mean, you can write it down first, then you rearrange. Okay? Ah, no time already.
What's the next session?
JFJ.
Oh yeah, guys, you got go LT1 now.
You go to LPU.
With BLD.
Wait, what?
E.
With our laptop.
Go at T1 for what?
I don't know.
No one. I want to go home. I can't go home, still CC.
Life sucks.
The life is awesome.
Life is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We must be optimistic.
Yeah, I need to buy more Pokemon cards.
Oh, sorry, my goal is not Pokemon cards. My goal is actually on Friday. $10.8 million. Once I win already, right, I will quit.
What?
Yeah, that's going too far. That's going too far.
Actually, $10.8 million is not enough to survive you for the rest of your life. After taxes and everything, right?
And it's still 2 million. That's more than a lot of people have.
No, but like, if you don't work for another day in your life, right, that $10.8 million
Fred,
is
there's this
going
thing
to-
called passive investing.
Yeah.
Oh.
You get passive income, you know. Even just putting in the bank, you still can earn quite a fair
No,
interest.
the bank cannot beat inflation.
Yeah, okay. Please invest in market.
That's why the whole of Singapore, people are buying DBS. DBS shares are like
Yeah.
going rocket high. The moment DBS crash, the whole Singapore economy is gone, I tell you.
That's why you should buy US shares.
US shares,
Huh? Wait, they're like 50 trillion in debt now, right? Or something.
No, not you don't buy you don't buy US is not a listed company. The country is not a listed company. You buy the US company shares. You're not asking you to buy.
I thought talking about the bond.
You know if got PAP shares, I'll sell my house and buy PAP shares.
PAP. Oh, there's something similar.
If only PAP had share.
You buy bonds.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
offered by,
Oh yeah.
that is offered by Temasek. If Temasek is gone, tell you PAP is gone.
Temasek. Yeah.
Yes. But going down the interest. Wow, rich guy. Zachary is rich. Sugar daddy. Can you move on?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Now, next group. Here, I repeat, all of the points here are your arguments. Okay? Now, so after, so this is where you look at revisionists in your
Yep.
context. If you look at revisionist historians, most of them, in a context you can write, their works are between 1960s and 1970s. Okay? Now, anyone want to tell me what's going on in 1960s and 70s?
Singapore became independent country.
I just came from Martial Poetry, they also say the same thing. Whoa. 1960s, 70s. Atomic bomb? No.
The Japan get bombs. Oh, never mind.
Any more? The Cuban Missile Crisis.
Japan got bombed.
Japan got bombed, that's 1945.
Oh yeah, shit. That's right.
Start with B and a war.
Vietnam.
Now, you can write this in your context, How about better? How about shaker? Oh, then how about this up?
Oh, the toilet was flooding just now, you know. The toilet bowl was broken. Then after that, it was just leaking water all over. Vietnam.
Yeah, base of pigs. It's very pigs. Pig. It's a pig. Now, before I break down on the arguments, actually, if you look at revisionist writings, most of them, why they are called revisionists, because they are direct contradiction to what you have written down on traditionalists. Traditionalists argued that it was USSR, it was Stalin to be blamed. But revisionists argued otherwise, saying that actually it was USA to be blamed. And you look at the context when most of the history writing that historians, this group of historians have written, that in 1960s and 70s, because of the fact that why they started to look at, hey, you know, it was possibly US that is at fault, is because of a lot of historical events at the point in time. So, some of your friends said Cuban Missile Crisis, but I highlight to you, you can go and search it up. You don't have to know this.
Peace
When we
invasion.
reach Cuban Missile Crisis, we'll talk about this. There's this thing called the Base of Pigs Invasion.
Oh, pigs.
Oh.
I thought it's peace invasion.
PIGS.
Aiyo.
Wait, like actually pigs, right?
Yeah, pigs. 猪. Yeah. So the base of pigs invasion, another thing is Vietnam War. Okay? The most important one is actually Vietnam War, to be honest. And the consequences of all these events basically actually led to a huge distrust among the US public towards the political establishment. I take Vietnam War for example. For the longest time ever since the 1950s, the government keep telling the people that, oh, when we go to Vietnam, it's for a great cause. We are protecting our Vietnam brothers from the onslaught of the communists. So they really subscribe to this idea that, hey, actually we are the crusaders, you know, we're actually protecting people. But later on, as the war in 1960s continued, when they sent in more soldiers, they sent in reporters, then to their horror, they realized that actually the so-called terrorists is actually us. We are actually the cause of all this conflict. We are actually creating sufferings. We are rapists, we are murderers, you know, we killed so many people in a sense. And when people started to realize the other side of what they have done in Vietnam, they realized that actually whatever the government said actually may not be true, you know. And this actually had a spill-on effect to the academia side, where actually historians started to look at, reread sources, and find sources that actually, when you put things in totality, actually the Soviet, it was actually more of the USA at fault. And their main argument is actually 2 points. One is the idea that actually the Cold War was because of the fact that USA was being expansionistic. You see Soviet Union was being expansionistic, right? But actually USA is the same thing. USA was expansionist or imperialistic to the extent that they want to actually create this empire, okay, for their own trading purposes. So when you write this point, can I trouble you at the side to write this example called Marshall Plan? We will learn this next week.
Hey, that Korea one.
Korea, right?
That's martial law, that's enough.
Oh my bad.
Oh, the martial law is different. Okay? The second point is where I think I've said this quite a few times until I'm like a broken record. Especially what happened in Potsdam Conference is the idea of the atomic diplomacy. Okay? This atomic diplomacy hinges on the fact that
Wait, this is...
Wait, are spies actually a real thing?
Yes.
yeah.
Can I become a spy? A double spy? Or become a triple spy?
Oh, we later will learn about triple spy in Malaya. So basically, the point 2 is basically about the idea that USA practice atomic diplomacy because they had a monopoly over nuclear weapons. Up to 1949, USA was the only one that had nuclear weapons. So when they want to push for certain things at the negotiation table, they're very aggressive because, hey, if you don't want, I'll nuke the hell out of you. And that was actually what I was saying. It was actually very controversial, especially when the USA dropped the second atomic weapon on Nagasaki. Because if you look at the historical context, just the day before the bombing of Nagasaki, what happened? Japan was ready to surrender.
Soviet were entering China.
Soviet was actually entering Manchuria, entering China, entering Korea. So, in the eyes of the Soviet, in the eyes of the USA, they are seeing the repeat of Sovietization of Eastern European states possibly happening in Asia. So they don't want that to happen again. They actually drop a nuclear weapon to force Japan to surrender, so that they are also sending a signal to Russia saying that, hey, you know, we are actually not very pleased, and we are not going to let this Sovietization in Asia happening again. You actually stop where you are going. We will not allow Korea or even Japan from becoming great. Can and from there, if you are studying, how you feel? But now in English lah. So in that sense, you feel threatened, you feel intimidated.
Annoyed.
You feel annoyed, you feel intimidated, you feel threatened, and because of that, the 3 M's mistrust, misperception, misunderstanding, war, or conflict lah. Oh my god, I don't have time. I thought you all need to go to
Never mind. What's the worst you do? We just tell them, oh, our teacher hold us back only. Then you won't get anything, you won't face anything.
No, I still have quite a fair bit
Just
of
go
stuff.
Yes, still go on, it's fine.
Okay, now finish already?
Yeah, finish it.
Now, if you look at the slides, the first slides, you can see that there is post-visionist, there is post-1991. In your booklet, I did not make that differentiation because post-1991 is still a very recent event. This recent school of thoughts was basically, I trouble you, post-visionist context. Basically, in terms of context, most of the sources, most of the historians, their books published from 1980s onwards. And it was actually rejuvenated, actually. It even increased. There's a lot of huge scholarship happening after 1991. Can you tell me what happened in 1991? Really? Is there a Soviet Union now?
Falling as well.
So when Soviet Union collapsed, what happened?
Russia took over.
Huh? I mean, end of Cold War, and then so what? How does it help historians to write? To understand who caused the Cold War? This is very important. So when you write the context, basically in 1991, what actually led to even increased search in terms of scholarship in Cold War is the idea that the Soviet archives opened up because the Soviet Union collapsed. And when you have access into Soviet archives, now you actually are able to see both sides of the argument. And you think about it, when you see both sides of the story, then the logical thing is that the argument is both sides at fault or no one at fault?
Both sides.
Yeah, both sides at fault. So when they look at both sides at fault, what they are actually arguing is the idea that it was actually a result. Okay, so this should be in your argument that it was actually a mutual misunderstanding of each other's motives. Okay, so their argument. Why do they have a mutual misunderstanding of each other's motive? One big part is basically ideological differences. The other one is where they argue, they look at the national or security interests of the two states. I go a bit fast. The other one, where later the next slide is where they look at post-1991, people started looking at personalities. Then they realize that both Stalin and Truman, they are not angels. Both of them have their own biases, both of them are also aggressive, therefore, both are at fault. So, when you look at post-visionist arguments, most of the time you can see they are not really interested. Yeah.
That's a German question.
Okay,
When the Germans died, when the Nazis were like born, then there's like a...
How do I divide Germany?
Yeah.
Okay, I finish this first. So basically, for post-visionist argument, they are less interested in claiming who is at fault. Rather, because I say that both are at fault and no one's at fault, I'm more interested in looking at what is actually the cause of it. So you can see the topic sentence, they look at things, they look at ideas. Okay? To answer Raphael's question, when they say a German question, they're actually looking at national or security interests. Because if you look at Europe, I was telling you guys what troubled Europe since the 1800s. There's only two kinds of questions. German question and the Eastern question. And when I look at German question or Eastern question, it's about where do all these territories in Eastern Europe and Central Europe, who does it fall under, whose spheres of influence? Is it towards Britain, France, or is it towards Russia? Because once it tilts towards one side, it affects the balance of power. And if you look at Cold War, both sides is trying to install their own form of hegemony. So they cannot allow the balance of power to tilt towards the other side. Because once it's tilted towards the other side, it means the other side technically has an advantage, which I don't want it in a sense. So the argument basically, when you copy down, is this and this.
You go late and kena scolded.
Okay, now the context is basically here. In the top here. I'll show it again, I will see you all on Friday, right? I'll repeat this again on Friday. Okay? If not,